There are certain things that have seeped into the culture of South Africa that we need to move away from if we are to build a serious economy, a prosperous country, and a rich people. We will always be dealing with poverty if we can't get rid of these 5 things. Yes, of course, we need to loosen labor laws. Yes, of course, we need to strengthen our education across the board. Yes, of course, we need to deal with crime, the borders, and all these things. But poverty isn't just about those metrics. Of course, it is about them, but it's not just about them. We need to deal with certain cultural aspects very ingrained in the South African society that we can get rid of or need to get rid of if we are ever to build a country of serious people with a thriving economy. The first one, of course, is the culture of labor unions.
Well, we warned from the beginning that the coming together of a former liberation movement that was originally social democratic in its posture, if you look at the RDP and the Freedom Charter, which then abandoned those positions to embrace neoliberalism as indicated through its privatization program that started in 1995 and the endorsement of a pro-business, anti-poor neoliberal approach in GEAR or through GEAR in 1996. That a coming together of that liberal party now and a super conservative, blue-eyed boy arch-employer spokesperson in the form of the Democratic Alliance will spell a doomsday for the working class and the marginalized black majority in South Africa.
The day of labor unions has to end in South Africa. Labor unions have to go into the background once and for all. They are a weight on the South African economy. They are working very hard to keep South Africans poor, because the labor union's job is to collect dues, is to collect monthly payments from people who work at certain particular types of jobs that need the union and mass action to organize to stay in that job and to stay getting paid. The union gets paid when those people get paid. And if anything disrupts that, maybe another company sets up where people need to move and go work there, that means they lose that person's money. So the labor unions are ironically very helpful to large corporate companies, because those companies employ a large number of workers, a lot of them unionized, and a lot of those people need to stay in that job for the union to stay in existence. So the union would rather work very hard to keep their people in that job at that company rather than seeing the economy expand to all sorts of other people, with small little businesses cropping up everywhere, with labor laws being loosened, with minimum wage being zero, and people starting businesses left, right, and center, that the labor laws are so permitting for business exploration, and the red tape around businesses is so permitting for starting new businesses. A company of 1 or 2 people doesn't need a union, doesn't even think about a union. Those people are working hard to earn money for themselves and to build something. The labor union is the last thing on their minds, and that's a bad situation for Zwelinzima Mvavi, for Matthew Parks and other communists of this nature, because they need the people working with large corporations, not going out there trying to do something for themselves. That's bad for them. We need the culture of labor unions to recede, and to recede right now.
Queer.
Bye, Felicia.
Y'all fancy.
Because to be honest, the labor unions are not good for the South African economy at this stage. They're one of the things choking the South African economy. The culture of labor unions has to go, and has to go now, because the labor unions are actually not helping. We don't need mass action. We need all sorts of individual actions away from the collective environment of less red tape and less labor laws, with people exploring and trying to do things for themselves, not waiting for union bosses who they pay every month to try and organize them so that they can squeeze more money out of some corporation. We need to get rid of the culture of labor unions if we are to see the South African economy grow. We now have a course on Teachable. It's for boys between the ages of 10 and 18, about 12 men from the Bible, where we teach about manhood, masculinity, and becoming a man. Check it out. The next culture we need to get rid of in this country to see our economy grow and to not be living as paupers anymore is the whole culture of feeding schemes. I'm not saying feeding poor people is bad. I'm not saying helping people is bad. I'm saying the culture of running a government or a country through programs, through charity. Every time you hear an ANC politician speak, you know it's just a countdown before they mention the word, we're running a program, we're doing this program. We need to get rid of that sort of thinking. This is a collectivist and a grants-based system where people get money for nothing, but that money is taxpayer money. It's being produced by a group of people that's getting smaller and smaller because the taxpayers of South Africa, a lot of them are immigrating, a lot of them are losing their jobs, and a lot of them aren't earning as much as they used to, and that rand is not going as far as it used to if you've seen the price of electricity. The idea of social grants, of charities, is not in and of itself bad, but it's not how you build a country.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for us.
Charity should come from individuals, from religious organizations, and from groups set up by do-gooders in the population and by citizens. It shouldn't be by government mandate. The government in the end should try and stay out of things like that and look after how individuals thrive. They should not be actually looking to solve poverty. They should be looking to make inputs that build an economy and keep order. The culture of running a program, of looking after the collective, fighting against poverty is not useful and is not the sort of culture and thinking we should be adopting here in South Africa, and unfortunately we've adopted it wholeheartedly and we should root it out. You cannot build a country and a people on charity, on programs, on a collective. You build great individuals in a thriving environment where people have to work very hard and upskill themselves and reach their fullest potential to produce for themselves and their family as they see fit.
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
The third culture we need to get rid of if we're serious in South Africa about building an economy and not staying poor serfs is the culture of the comrade, of the way the ANC thinks and the comrades. It is an ideology of poverty that always looks at people in some sort of view of a developmental state. We should not look at South Africa like that. That's how you become a pauper in the land of your fathers. We are not a developmental state. We should be looking to be the most thriving country in the hemisphere, in the continent, and in the world. We should be looking to maximize our people as far as we possibly can, not to form some sort of developmental state, but a state of prosperity and economic thriving and riches, where everyone can have an opportunity to access the free market and use their talents to the best of their ability. We should get out of the ideology of the socialists, like Pravin Gordhan, who is now gone, and many others, because we are not hanging on to the past and we are not hanging on to the allegiances of the past. We should not see ourselves as partners or compatriots or in league or somehow associated with people like the Palestinians. We should in fact be looking to get ourselves and extract ourselves out of that sort of thinking and out of sort of that comrade culture. We should be looking to countries that are thriving and look far more towards prospering, opening up the economy, strengthening free markets, strengthening our currency, and looking to build a country. We should not be thinking in that way along the lines of those sort of countries and aligning ourselves with them. We should be innovating and building things and not trying to be a developmental state. The poor Africans that are just trying to get out of it. And one of the biggest things about the comrade culture that we need to get rid of that's keeping us poor is blaming the white man every 5 seconds.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
This EFF, MK type thinking. People need to get out of that or our country will forever be poor. If you have such a big problem with the white man, build for yourself, achieve things yourself, compete and beat him. We are not in the right culture for building an economy if our basis for what we do is based on hating the white man, being a developmental state, being a poor African country that aligns itself with countries and people groups that are going nowhere, like the Palestinians and others. We should be aligning ourselves with thriving people that have built clean, peaceful societies like the Scandinavians and some of the Asians. We should not be looking into the poverty-stricken places of the world and saying, how can we be these people's friend? If we're looking there and in Africa, we should be saying, how do we trade with these people and build our own country and help them get some money as well and do good deals with them? We should not be trying to say we are in a league of poverty-stricken countries. We are not a developmental state and we shouldn't think like that. That's the third culture we need to get rid of if we're to build a serious economy in South Africa. A reminder that you can get a digital comic book emailed to you every single month when you become a member on our Buy Me a Coffee page. The fourth one is this culture of the African brother.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Oh my goodness, I could not tell you how much I hate this sort of thinking. Our African brothers. I don't have any African brothers. I have my countrymen who are brothers in that sense as countrymen. All these other people, whether they look like me or they don't, are just people we know. They are not our brothers, and I hate that sort of thinking. South Africa is not the homeless shelter for every African and failbop who wants a place to lay their hungry little head. We are not that place, and we should not be that place. We are not a charity. We are a country, and a country of laws. And those laws should keep certain people out and let certain people in whom we deem fit to be in this country because they're here to produce, they have certain skills, and they have certain talents that we want to take advantage of. And for that, they get to stay here and benefit from being here. We are the gift to them. They are not the gift to us. We are allowing them to live out their full talents. We are not a homeless shelter taking in every vagabond and failbop we can. We need to get out of that culture, and anyone who thinks like that is a fool and has no idea how economies work and is not looking for the best interests of the South African economy. The last culture we need to get out of if we are to build a rich and prosperous country of thriving communities, of people who are reaching their fullest potential and are absolutely productive, might be one you might not consider part of this, but I consider it firmly part of building a great economy. And that's the culture of thousands, if not millions of children in this country who bear their mother's surname.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
They do not have the surname of their father. This is a problem. I'll tell you why. Because it starts with the mother is a single mother in some way, whether the dad is present or not, paying child support or not. He is usually the child of a woman who's on a social grant or on a social grant and has a piece job or has a job but not married to the father. So she's raising this kid primarily. He's out of the picture because she pushed him out of the picture and wants to keep the kid for herself and uses the kid to control him and would very gladly and does take money from the father but doesn't live with the father, had a baby with the man but doesn't want to live with the man. They say that this man is a low-quality individual who abandoned them. So why would you have a baby with someone who's a low-quality individual and abandon you? It is often not true. It is just this tale, the story, the narrative that's often told and is perceived to be the truth. These children grow up in an emotionalized way, without proper guidance and formation, who do not have the mind to go out and do things. They grow up in a mindset of receiving government grants, child support, growing up with an emotional woman who cannot push them to be their best. Fathers push their children out of the nest. Women want their children always around them and to be safe. These are two different approaches that are both needed in the formation of a good human being. And human beings that are formed by grants or child support without the father there are not the best we have and will not be productive people. And you can look at the stats, they're not. They're the most in jail, they're the most criminals, and they're the lowest achievers across the board in anything. Single mother raised people low quality individuals. We need to get out of the culture of the child who has their mother's surname. These are weak people without any proper formation and that cannot be maximally productive. It is a way of alienating a father and hurting a child. These women hate the father more than they love the children. This child has no connection to their father and to the father's family, and they do not know themselves, where they come from, their bloodline, and who they are. They become very maladjusted people who are a drag on the economy and do not reach their full potential to be maximally productive. In conclusion, we need to get rid of 5 cultures in South Africa if we are to build a great and prosperous economy, and that's the culture of unions, the culture of the feeding scheme, the culture of the comrade, the culture of our African brother, and the culture of children with their mother's surname. How disgusting. Here's a saying: justice without force is powerless. Force without justice is tyrannical. Blaise Pascal. I recommend we adopt some new cultures in South Africa and do not forever be drowning in these backward thinking, low-minded, low-brow forms of thought and living, like unions and feeding schemes and being the comrade and our African brother nonsense and children without their father's name. The case is closed, my friend. If we are to move South Africa forward, of course we need the practicalities of lowering red tape, of dropping the minimum wage, of educating and upskilling our people, so on and so forth. However, poverty and getting rid of it is also engraved in how we live as a people and in the culture, and we need to get rid of some cultural aspects that are ideologically formed and are framing how people live and how people think. And if we uproot some of those, we will be on the track to move faster towards economic prosperity and realignment with countries that actually do things in this world and are just not full of dirty, poor people. Because this is not the country for that. We're not a country of dirty, poor people, and we should not in any way want to be associated with that. Let me know what you think. Thank you for listening, and if you dare, buy us a coffee.